like had voice cracks instead of static when you were like calling out.
Hal, I need you to open fire on that other Gundam. I'm
can't.
sorry. I can't do that, Dave.
Lore Boys here, the internet's #1 fake history podcast, ready to mobile suit up and read you a wiki page. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Ethan Palmer. With me, as always, is James and Peter. Say hi, James and Peter.
Hi, James. While mecha Peter. Expert Peter O'Donoghue here. I've passed on the torch, apparently.
True, yeah.
Dude, my name's James.
How much do you love mechas?
I love Gunpla because that's what they all say in our server, and Gunpla just means Gundam miniatures, as far as I know.
It's not like Gundam plastic?
Mecha plastic models is what it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a weird sex thing when they first started saying it, but then I realized, no,
because a lot of the ones you see are scantily clad women, and you're like, this is a mecha thing, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, but this is the pilot.
Well, like gunplay might be like, oh, you hold a loaded gun to my head during sex, and that gets me off, right?
That sounds great, actually.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
You should do it with a loaded gun. You should do it with an unloaded gun and pretend it's loaded, but...
No, you just don't blow my brains out unless I say dolphin, okay?
That's an unsafe word. Yeah, and this week's request is obviously Mobile Suit Gundam, as you can tell from the title. This comes from the patrons over at patreon.com/theloreboy, where the topic... the Lore Boys, not the Lore Boy.
The Lore Boy.
See, the Lore Boy James bullshit has got me all fucked up now.
I'm just one boy.
.com/the Lore Boys, because there's three of us. There was an election, and Mobile Suit Gundam lore got elected as this week's lore topic. So check it out if you're interested in contributing. This week we have some new patrons, I believe, actually this week for the last 3 weeks, because we've kind of forgotten for 2 weeks in a row. But
yeah, it was a little hectic over here at HQ. So welcome and thank you to Rogue Squad 92, Sparky with the big old $99 sub. Thank you so much. Expect your request real soon. And then also Tinderbox, right out of the wire a couple days ago. Thank God we delayed this for so long.
Huh. Yeah, Rogue Squad doesn't have disc. Okay, I'll fix that. Never mind. Yeah. Doesn't need to be on the show.
Yeah,
I fixed it.
Sure. Okay. So
I want to back up a bit, Ethan. Sorry.
Oh, am I coming in? Am I coming in hot?
A little hot. A little excited. A little excited.
Yeah,
my game's not really that far up.
Gunpla makes me so excited that I just get so close to my mic.
Yeah. That's better.
Am I coming in crunchy or am I coming in loud, Peter?
It was peaking a bit. Loud.
Okay. Well, if it's just loud, you should just turn me down, but because otherwise we could handle that in post. You just need to turn me down personally. If
guys, you want it?
Not crunchy.
Let's talk about our content plans for the next year while we're just doing some cleanup.
You're right. Yes.
Yeah. It's a fair call out if my audio's bad, but
I figured you'd just edit this out.
I would love it. So let's talk about Gundam. Obviously, I would love to know what your guys' knowledge of Gundam is, because I know this will take us seconds, not minutes, to get through. Or that's my assumption anyway. So,
you ever heard of Zellers?
I have heard of Zellers. Yeah,
Zellers, kind of like an old Walmart in Canada,
Canadian Walmart.
Yeah. And they used to have Gunpla there. They used to have the figurines, and I had the one figurine that.
Oh, did you? That's fun.
Yeah, it was. Or I had two. I had a green one, and then I had one that was like white, yellow, and red or something. And I used to take their heads off and switch them, and take their arms off and switch them and stuff. And I thought that was always very fun. But I only watched a few episodes of the show and retained at this point.
You've even seen some episodes. That's incredible.
Yeah, on YTV, which was our little Ontario television show. But yeah, it's been a long time
here too in the People's Republic of Quebec. For the record, I did have YTV as a child.
Good. Yeah, I watched enough episodes to not remember a single thing at my current age, though. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool. And Peter,
I remember casting NVSIs over the Gunplas at Zellers, but they were too expensive for my parents to get me, so I never.
I heard that as NVS, like the letters, and then like NVSI, like a letter. I was like, what the fuck is an NVSI, dude? But NVSIs, I got
casting
you.
envious eyes. Yes.
Gotcha.
My buddies all had a few. There was one that I remember I really liked that had like wings on it and like a teal, like a green plastic scythe with
Dude,
it.
Gundam wings?
It did have Gundam wings.
Awesome.
But I never got one myself. My parents would get me Bionicles, but they were cheaper at Zellers than the Gundams. So, but it was just out of our price range when I was growing up. But I got to play with them at like Kyle's or Logan's or whatever. Like everybody except me had one, but I had access. I have never seen. I don't think I've ever seen a fucking frame of animation of any Gundam media whatsoever, except this was either on Sega or on the PS1. There was a 2D fighting game I played with my buddy Adrian, my neighbor, and that was cool. I remember I played as like this orb thing that could kick fire, and that was the one that I used.
Gun PlayStation.
The gun PlayStation, the gun PS1, yeah. gun PS1.
Sick. We're all at about the same level in that I have. So I'm gonna say some stuff that I guess I'm gonna cap it off with a caveat at the end that in researching this episode, Gundam is extremely fucking cool.
Okay.
The lore, the world building is all super cool. The stories that I've looked into have all been extremely cool. Adult themes, touches on a lot of like themes of war. There's a lot of parallels like in the actual content that we're going to talk about in the actual show. We're not going to touch on it too much in this episode, but in the actual show, there's a ton of like parallels to like the Vietnam War and how that was kind of waged on Earth. It's these large mecha robots are the first things you think of when you think of Gundam is the mecha suits.
It is a Gundam is the thing, right? It's like Mech Warrior is the job from my perspective, but like a Gundam is the machine, right?
I actually, I researched this whole ding dang episode. I don't know what Gundam is for because they're mobile suits. That's what they're called. So it's Mobile Suit Gundam is the original show. It's called Mobile Suit Gundam.
Just some cool shit, dude. It's like guns, yeah. Damn, sick.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's just
That's basically been my reaction to pretty much every like story beat and everything that I've come across in the series. It's just like this is just like hell yeah, let's go rock and roll.
So I got the etymology. It is from 8 years ago on Reddit r/Gundam. So I guess I don't know how good this information is. A similar word, Gundam, in Japanese, is for Army Corps or defense troops. So mobile suit Army Corps.
Yeah, mobile suit battalion or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, and we'll talk about the kind of mobile suits. And
I hope nobody who loves Gundam just had a stroke listening to us kind of stumble through that.
This is the caveat that I have is that I think it's all extremely cool. I've never seen a single fucking episode. I've watched a number of because I've been like looking into this for a few months now. When I say looking into this, I've just been watching various recaps of different series within the Gundam universe.
Okay, cool.
Essentially, so I've seen plenty of people talk about Gundam, and I've seen clips from Gundam, but I've never seen like a full episode. So the execution might be dog water. Like it might not be a good show to like sit down and watch. But like I don't know, like. If you're on YouTube and you're watching this, feel free to leave us plenty of YouTube comments about all the things that I get wrong.
Those are always positive.
This is a man who has never seen an episode of this talking about this thing which you love. You really, really love if I know you. So
I'm the only one who reads the comments anyway. So blast on Ethan and Peter. That's fine.
Yeah. I didn't go through, but I went through and responded to like the last 2 months of comments.
The other day,
so yeah, it's just for fun.
Good for you.
So, the original Mobile Suit Gundam anime was released almost 50 years ago, 45 years ago exactly, in 1979. Yeah, it's been around for a long, long time.
The lads in Japan had mecha 45 years ago?
Yeah, straight up.
No way.
We landed on the moon, and then 10 years later, Gundams were existing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
That'll come back up, landing on the moon. It's funny, you said like a Gundam Wing, Jamie, and I am so unfamiliar with the show. I had to be like, what the fuck is he talking about? And Gundam Wing is a show that was released in 1995 in the Gundam universe or whatever.
That's the ones my friends watch. Like, I recognize the title.
To look it up. But 95, that would have been when we were kids. So that would have been the current one.
Yeah.
Right? So it has spawned over 60 in canon shows, movies, video games. The Wikipedia page is insane. Again, it's 50, almost 50 years, 45 years that this has been an IP. and it is still incredibly popular. And
Hundreds of toys. Yeah.
there's either a movie or a new series coming out this year. I think soon, honestly.
Cool.
There's been a bunch of different series which has come out over the last 45 years. The one that we're going to be talking about came out in 2018. Well, what we're going to be talking about came out in 2018. Okay. Obviously, there's a ton of content. I will send you guys a picture of the timeline.
It's called like the Millennium Century or something weird like that, right?
So there's alternate universes, right?
Okay.
We're going to be talking about the main universe called the Universal Century.
That's it.
So I sent you guys a picture of the timeline.
I recognize this toy. This is Protagonist Gundam, right?
That is, as far as I know, the main Gundam, and I only know that because it's the main one that shows up. And I sent it because I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one that Jamie's describing.
That's the one I had. Yeah.
Okay.
One of the ones. Yeah.
Probably, and again, I have not seen the original Mobile Suit Gundam. I don't really know who Char Aznable is, but I kind of do because having researched Origin, I'm pretty sure that's Char Aznable's Gundam. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments of whatever YouTube app, podcast app you're using.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, why don't you guys take a crack at describing the timeline that I sent you, which is from Reddit.
I have to open it in my browser so I can zoom in a little bit here.
Open it in browser. If you click zoom, you'll go way too far in because the picture is just absolutely huge.
Oh, I'm getting blurry from Discord compression here.
It's starting with like Mobile Suit Gundam, and then it seems to go in a straight line for like maybe 20 years, but then there's the first branch. Is this like Gundam Z or something like that? And then it was like ZZ Gundam as well. I'm in Discord still. I haven't opened it.
Oh, I got it working.
So there's the blue box on top. That is Universal Century. Below, there are all alternate universes. So you see Gundam Wing, alternate universe, Gundam 00, alternate universe, Gundam Seed, alternate universe, Gundam Age, Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Build Fighters, G Gundam, Build Drivers, Gunpla, Builders, Beginning G, Gundam X, and Gundam EXA are all.
Oh, I like this one. Mobile Suit Vor. Let's go. We got the fetish Gundams.
Is that a thing?
UC0080. Mobile Suit Vor, 2 exclamation points.
So yeah.
Holy fuck, dude.
You see the original Universal Century timeline. You see Mobile Suit Gundam was for up until 2018 the first one in canon. Like in the timeline it was the first series, and it was also the first one in the timeline. In 2018, if you look down, there's the Origin timeline, which merges and has reworked some of the lore. That is Mobile Suit the Origin, which is what we're going to be talking about.
I see.
Gundam the Origin, excuse me. So we're going
to the Origin one, blue-eyed Cass Val.
So those are it's a 5-episode series or 6-episode series. I believe it was originally a movie and then broken up into 6 episodes, like a mini series. So if all this sounds cool, you can go out and you can watch it. It's 6 episodes, so it's very digestible for someone like me who just wants to dip their toe. Again, I haven't watched it. Haven't watched the original. What I've heard from a lot of the people who I've seen doing recaps is if you're going to watch it, it is good to watch it in the order of like go chronologically to some extent, at least in the beginning. Watch Origin first. There's some that you can skip. There's definitely like abridged lists you can look up out there that would show you like the important episodes versus unimportant ones. But again, the Origin is this very condensed story over 6 episodes, which introduces a lot of the world. And it starts essentially before mobile suits are even a thing. Like the first episode takes place well before mobile suits are even a thing.
Okay, cool.
We will go through all of that.
I don't know why, but I pictured like way before mobile suits exist. It's like a bunch of monkeys around the obelisk from 2001: A Space Odyssey, but instead of picking up a bone to hit the other monkey, one just hops into a mech suit and starts like fire.
It's made of like wood and coconuts.
So you have watched Gundam then?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I guess just like spoil everything. I don't know.
There's this timeline is
insane.
I got like flashbang there because I had to look at it a little bit. There's so much to it.
No, it's if you look up Gundam timeline, you'll get a picture on Reddit which is much more digestible. But then the top comment is, I see that this has come up again. Here's a much more complete timeline for you. So I've shared the much more complete timeline basically.
Wow.
I see. Okay. That is the exact reaction I would assume to get from anybody who uses Reddit, actually.
They said Milady and Tips Fedora, between the asterisks,
Smug soy jack.
Yeah. I like that in the middle of the Universal Century, which is like the main universe, like you said.
Mhm.
There's stuff, other UC related works, not sure where to place, and then just shit that don't fit in. And there's Magical Ensign Blaster Mary 79, Go Go RV Gundam, and For the Barrel. I guess there's more content than you could hope to get through in a year here. There's like so much stuff.
My understanding also is that the anime came first, and there is a manga running for it, but I believe the anime came first. And I think now maybe the manga has surpassed it. There are some differences between the manga and the anime. I will talk about one. I will briefly mention one major one, I guess. But we are talking Gundam anime. Again, we're not talking so much about the original timeline that was established, though. In researching, there was plenty of stuff that was like says one thing on one date and then another source just gives a completely different date. I assume that is from the two timelines, and I haven't watched either, so I don't know which one is the origin that I'm looking for. So I'm gonna get some stuff wrong, but we'll have fun.
You know what? People have been asking for this for so long, and they knew that none of us were Gundam people. If we're even just stumbling through it, which I think you're doing more than just stumbling through it, I think this will be a fun episode.
And I mean, I've said it a few times. Thank you, because it's been a treat to look into. Honestly, like I say, it's very cool. So first, let's set the table. The Universal Century timeline begins when human immigration to space in the face of overpopulation and climate change planet-side becomes a thing, basically. So at the far left of that timeline that I sent you, where it's year 0 Universal Century, is they made a new calendar when we started emigrating to space.
The far left, always advocating for immigration, dude.
Yeah.
the woke school is constantly trying to change the fucking calendar.
Yeah. The planet itself was Earth. It's called that in the canon. It shares our history right up to presumably 1979 when the show was released. NASA landed some men on the moon on July 20th, 1969. Like everything is pretty much right up to 1979, and then they projected some future stuff happening. So a lot of the
Stanley Kubrick is still in this universe in that case.
Yeah, we had built orbiting space stations by like 1995 or something like that in this canon. You know what I mean? Which obviously didn't pan out for us in real life. But
Hal, order me 10 new Gundams, please. I can't let you do that, James. No.
I gotta watch that one day, man.
You should, man. It's like a long movie, but have one of your funny gummies and you'll enjoy it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we did Dune 2 and then like Sloppy Toppenheimer, right? So I can sit through a good long movie.
One thing I'll say about 2001 is it's very schizophrenic. Like it very much changes pace, like and has like it doesn't have a 3-act structure. I'll say that.
No, I just watched a retrospective. Anyways, we should watch it and we can talk all about it. That'll be another episode.
We'll do a watch party at some point.
Yeah.
So you know this was written in the 70s because the unbearable number that the Earth's population has exceeded is 9 billion, which we're on track to hit in like a couple of years, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So we have begun sending people up to space colonies built primarily in Earth's orbit, not necessarily in not orbiting Earth necessarily. There are space colonies orbiting Earth, but plenty of them are kind of in the path of Earth's orbit. So in the Lagrange points, basically.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say we can bring that back. Take a drink for the Lagrange point.
So
I did send you guys a picture of one of the stations. This is Laplace Station. It's one of said colonies where the first elected Prime Minister of the Earth Federation, Ricardo Marcinus, holds a press conference to announce the end of the Common Era and the beginning of the Universal Century.
I know they're pretty common now, but I love these concentric circle space station designs. Always get me. I always think they're cool. Just the rings with the struts holding everything together. Yeah. Love it.
The Laplace, everybody there has their knees connected straight to their hips.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, that
why you come and sit on Granddaddy's shins for me? I'll tell you a story.
To the feet right at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
The Circle space station also was in 2001: Space Odyssey, and that was like a really big set for the show because like there's like that
he walks,
scene of him jogging around, and they actually had to like put straps for another guy who's working on like the top part of it to get the illusion that there's gravity all the way around. He's like screwed into his chair eating food.
Yeah.
There's a lot of commonalities between 2001. I didn't realize that there was going to be when we brought it up.
There's a lot of commonalities between 2001: A Space Odyssey and sci-fi in general, right?
Yeah.
To Pete's point, you said those are common now. This is from the 2018 series, The Origin. So this is a modern rendition of a space station. Well, I'll send you at least one picture of some of the older, or one other picture of space stations, but they come in all shapes and sizes.
Basically. An episode I've always wanted to do of like old design. It's like the movie from the 30s, Metropolis. I haven't really worked out how I'm gonna do it, but like ancient sci-fi is really cool, and I've gone as far back as like Heinlein and whatnot, like the 50s or whatever. But yeah, the design, I love the way the designs change over time.
Cool. I don't even know what Metropolis is. I'm looking it up now.
Black and white sci-fi film. I've been thinking about it for years.
Metropolis 2033, a Russian space odyssey.
All I see is a sexy female C-3PO in front of a throne and a pentagram, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah, the imagery's insane. I love it.
Oh, speaking, the Russian guy in 2001 is like a bad guy too. Just thinking of Metro. Anyways,
a Russian guy in the 60s was portrayed as the bad guy in a movie?
Yeah. They get to this space station. He's just in there already, but he's being shady. Anyways, 2001, another day.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the first prime minister of the Earth Federation. The Earth Federation, clearly a new institution because they have their first prime minister. He is holding a press conference aboard the Lapis station to announce the beginning of the Universal Century, and amongst some other things. During this conference, Prime Minister Marcinus read from the Earth Federation's brand new constitution, while robots engraved the laws therein upon a large metal plaque.
Cool.
They wouldn't have the chance to finish, however, as a terrorist cell hired by Ricardo's own son, but we're not going to go into that. We're not going to talk about it too much. Okay. Detonating an explosion in the colony, melting an exterior wall, and sending everyone in the sector hurtling into space. So, that's going to be kind of a common theme, I guess. If you don't know Gundam and you're like, should I listen to this or watch The Origin first? I try really, really hard to not do any kind of like spoilers for the actual story. It's just world building and setting, to the point where it was really hard for me because there's one really, really cool thing that I really wanted to talk about in the actual story that I've omitted because it's just spoilers and I don't want to do that to anybody. But man, like the origin story seems really, really cool.
I might put that on tonight after we're done recording because I have like comic work to do and I need some audio. I've only got like a podcast and a half left, so I've only got 90 minutes of distraction left left on my phone.
I have no idea how the dubs are, but I after having just researched it, I would recommend.
I can't watch it in Japanese. Fuck.
It's on my list to. I mean, you can. You just won't understand if you're.
Well, I can't like listen and draw because it's just a bunch of noise.
So the terrorist cell had taken issue with one key detail from Marcinus's constitution, something called Article 15, which stated, in the future, should the emergence of a new space-adapted human race be confirmed, the Earth Federation shall give priority to involving them in the administration of the government.
So that's interesting. So if I run into intelligent life, they get to vote.
Yeah.
No, it seems to be like What's the policy that gives like advantages to minorities in the States that people
affirmative action?
It's like affirmative action for people who have evolved in space, right?
Exactly. It's more that. So it's a space adapted human race. So you're meeting aliens that were once humans, essentially.
The fat guy from WALL-E gets a diversity hire job, right?
Yeah, but it's not just affirmative action. It's not a diversity hire. It is involving them in the administration of government. So these people will be given priority to positions of power.
It's a Japanese show, though, so it's just all white people in a place of power. And like, fuck, we just did America again. Damn it.
So without having watched 1,000 hours of Gundam anime, I'm fairly certain this was a retcon. Because in the original, in particular, there is several evolutions of humans living in space. So they do kind of become this new type of humans, which are called new types. We're not gonna go into new types, what they are. There's some basics to it. Like they have some heightened ability, like sensory ability. Basically, they have the ability to communicate with each other over distance. Like they have like telepathy to a sense. And this is just for like them to communicate as Gundam pilots to communicate with each other. And we'll get into why a cell phone doesn't work a little bit later.
If there was
telepathy would be good because if you can't interfere with the signal, you can't like spy on people and their plans, right? Like that's cool fiction, I think.
That is good.
This thing I just made up from a show I've never seen.
I bet you if new types they have like they call them newts or something like that. They give them a short form because they're not like us, and like I feel like that would happen naturally.
So it's actually the division becomes like humans who are from Earth and space noids who are from
space noids,
not the Noid.
Grow up in space, basically.
Okay.
For today's purpose, it's important to note that this terrorist cell of right-wing extremists were concerned with the population of Earth being left behind. So they hear this proclamation that, like, oh, if ever we discover psychic humans that are born in space, then they should run the government because they'll be more evolved than us.
I think my reflex of distrusting the current people who want to go to space. My reflex in my head is just like these terrorists are correct. If Elon Musk and his space, I can't remember any goddamn words right now.
Is daydream? You're high on Novocaine. That's not your fault.
I know. His like Elon Musk space constitution. I would terrorist that. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It would be morally just to do so, and we will get into it. Elon Musk is going to stay on Earth. It's going to be the people that are shipped off to space. So don't worry about that.
Oh no!
I love the AI voice fill-in that they've done for Elon Musk, where he talks about how Teslas can pick up your balls signature, and you can start the car with just your balls now because it would know your balls from a stranger's balls.
I mean, that's one of those things he's gonna do.
Bad.
It's great.
So this right wing faction, which has committed this terrorist act by blowing up a space station and assassinating the first prime minister of the Earth Federation.
Right.
They were worried that the new central government would give priority to the ever-growing populations of the colonies, and Article 15 laid out a road for those colonies to secure more power, and the Earth alt-right didn't like it, or far-right, I should say.
Right.
So these tablets that the Constitution is being engraved upon, he basically had, like, the first prime minister had drafted this Constitution himself, was reading it from a speech or whatever, and then they were getting grafted onto engraved onto these giant stone tablets, which the stone tablets also get flung out into space. This right-wing group blames it on left-wing groups, seizes power of the Earth, seizes control of the Earth Federation. They end up finding these tablets, and they reinstate the Constitution, but strike Article 15 that talks about, preference should be given to people born in space, or we should treat people born in space correctly.
The obelisk in 2001 is a giant rock, and every time humanity encounters the giant rock, they get a new level in technology. Like, they get the ability to kill, the ability to nuke, artificial intelligence, and these proclamations or whatever that they're sending out into space. It seems like it'll bring whoever into the next.
Is that a magic rock? Should I kill this?
I'm gonna drink.
Yeah,
I'll take a sip.
Another sip for another magic rock. It's not magic, but we'll take it. It's the magic of politics.
Yeah,
politics.
Exactly. Which is a dumb made-up thing that I don't understand.
Yeah.
It's a science, dude. Poli-sci.
So they're not wrong, this far-right group, that the colonies would garner more power as they continue to grow, though the population of the colonies is still vastly outweighed by the population of Earth. By the year 25 UC, the population of the colonies had only reached 50 million compared to Earth's 9 billion.
Okay.
What's important to remember, though, is that you're sending people up, right? So as the space population grows, the Earth population is shrinking. The rate of emigration would rapidly increase on Earth, as in just 5 more years, it had reached nearly 500 million, with many more of those ending up on space stations, not being born there, but immigrating. So we do start to have births in space on these space stations as well, but the vast majority is still people leaving Earth, shipping off Earth, basically.
Is the Earth going to Oh, sorry.
Yeah, does pregnancy work in zero gravity? Like, would you not find a way?
There is artificial gravity on these stations, so.
Oh, okay. I'm still wondering.
The sperm gets disoriented and you can't get pregnant in zero G's.
Right. Like, what's does gravity play any of a role in that? No, because it would be going against gravity most of the time, wouldn't it?
Well, who's that
surely it plays some role. Surely, like, pregnancy is an extremely complicated thing that we still have a very rudimentary understanding of, because it primarily impacts women, and until 1990 we didn't research what happened to women medically speaking.
Well, we're doing a waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We know a lot about the babies being born, but very little still about like the effects of pregnancy on the body. So like I'm gonna say, yeah, for sure, a change that drastic to our evolution would have some sort of impacts. Probably.
That's why in all the biology textbooks, it's always like the cross section of a woman's body and like a fully realized, detailed baby. They're just like, here is your beautiful miracle of life, and some other things as well, and her organs too,
and the wrapping it comes in. Yeah,
exactly.
Nobody can hear you nut in space.
Just like little like ice like droplets just like shooting across.
Write that down as a loser title, but I'm pretty sure we've said I'm pretty sure that's been a loser title before. So,
well, we're
maybe they think we're doing Alien again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So by the year 40 UC, over 40% of Earth's population, approximately 5 billion people, have packed up and moved their shit to space.
Damn.
There is some talk around this. I didn't look too much into it because we have a lot to get through still, about people being like abducted and shipped off to space. People basically being forcibly removed from Earth. And this is kind of where I talk about like, I said like, it wouldn't be Elon Musk in space without thinking it through. Like Elon Musk is not going to go to space. He is setting up a system to send other people to space, right? So that he has more room and that he can enjoy the Earth, which is beautiful, instead of Mars, which is a barren wasteland.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing here, where the Earth Federation, there are reports of them like grabbing people in the night, essentially, or just like removing people's passports and saying like, you got to go to space now. Basically, you have to.
Oh, it's like Dubai, I guess. Like with like all the people who work there, or in Qatar, like the people who built like the stadiums where they show up, they steal their passports, and they just like ship them out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
I played Doom 3D this week, and Mars not such a nice place. I'm telling you, a lot of bad guys.
There's devils there, dude.
There's literal devils.
Yeah. So among the people leaving Earth is a philosopher named Alzheimer, who starts to preach the word that Earth is a sacred place for humanity that should be preserved as pristinely as possible, and that humans were actually meant to live in space. This philosophy of Alzheimer takes root, becomes a movement amongst those who have already left Earth behind. So probably like you're forced out of your house in the middle of the night, and you're told like, oh yeah, you got to go to space now. Somebody tells you like, don't worry, this is the way it's supposed to be. You probably like rationalize like, oh yeah, that is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
That is the like grandma putting a plastic cover on her couch solution of Earth. Like nobody sit on the Earth. We all go to space and we leave it there. When we have company, we can go to Earth. When we can go, we can. So, go see all the nice things there.
Yeah, they killed the first prime minister, just replaced him with an old Italian lady.
So, you're right. We will get there. She's not saying that just yet. She's saying like people can still sit on Earth, but it's unnatural to sit on Earth. We're meant to be in space, but we will very shortly absolutely arrive to the people who are like, no, nobody should live on Earth.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's with this philosophy, which our first character would merge with another called Sidism to create our predominant philosophy, which I just mentioned, called Contolism. Xion Zum Daikun was born in the year 9 UC. Pete, I see you making a face. There's going to be a lot of mention of Xion. Obviously, in the news right now, a lot of terrible things happening.
Okay.
Very similar sounding word. Let's not dwell on it too much. Because
I was going to say anything.
Because I'm going to say this guy is going to have a country named after him, and it's going to be the most important country in our story. So,
so what's UC, by the way? What's the calendar? Like, did you get that?
9 universal
centuries.
Of
course. Okay.
Yeah, don't you see?
Can't you see?
I wasn't able to track down exactly where he was born. I believe it was Earthside because he was only 9 universal century, so there would have been a very small portion of the population that was born actually in the colonies, but it's possible he was born in the colonies. Probably born on Earth. It's probably canon. I just didn't find it. He is a staunch defender of the colonies' right to police themselves. So he is a believer in colony independence from the Earth Federation, which
I'm okay with that, honestly.
In the intervening years between 0 or like 1 UC when the prime minister was assassinated, or 0 UC and the year 40, there has been a lot more of Earth first talk happening with the governments that have kind of filled the vacuum after the last president. was assassinated.
But also, like, I do think like space colonies should kind of maybe be self-governing, because like we have worthless bureaucrats in current governments living in cities who can barely make like coherent laws for rural areas 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
Ain't no way I want some fucking loser on Earth telling me how to manage Mars, right?
Not too much, but like I vote NDP when I vote in the
federal elections, yeah,
election or whatever. My local NDP is like a woman who lives in Ottawa, like an hour away. I'm like, I'm not voting for you. Like,
yeah, no.
I do that. Like, you have no interest in making this place better. You only have an interest in your own political career.
Yeah.
It's funny to think of the redcoats are coming like from the old colony times in the States, but you're in a like the redcoats walking around a circular fucking space station and like lining up to shoot.
It's like lines of guys with muskets.
Yeah.
Lines of Gundams or mobile suits with muskets, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So like you bring up a pretty good point, Pete, in that you're right. Both sides are going to be bad. Like there really is, in terms of the political factions. There's good people on both sides, but there's good people on both sides, but both sides are bad. There's going to be a lot of terrorism from both sides. There's going to be a lot of oppression, a lot of just like real, and just one of those things in researching Gundam that I'm like, I love. Like moral gray is kind of a trope, you know what I mean? But I think this is like it is kind of like realistic in that you do follow more or less good people, good characters. There's some arguments to be made about the main character, which are kind of revealed in the origin story here, which make him, I think, much more deplorable. But I haven't seen the original, so maybe he was always kind of that. But
Okay.
It is very cool how like space colonies should have independence. Absolutely. The measures that they go to gain that independence, I will show you guys, is way too far. Like they went too far. Basically,
I was just saying, plan ahead. To eliminate the need for terrorism later on, right?
I mean, the through line that we're gonna have. Spoiler alert for this episode. Mr. Daikun, Zeon Zoom Daikun, is gonna die at some point. It's gonna be assassinated in our story. All the good ones who preach progress, like the first prime minister as well, Ricardo Marcenas, they get assassinated. They would. Ruthless people who want power behind them, right? That is kind of a recurring theme. So Sidism, which Zeon Zoom Daikun will merge with the philosophy of Alzheimer to create Contolism, was the belief that all space colonies should be independent from the Earth Federation. So exactly what you're preaching, Pete, is like they should govern themselves. Contolism was taking the two philosophies to the extreme, that not only should the space colonies be independent, but they were inherently morally superior to the Earth Federation and those who remain planet-side. So it's kind of a combination of colonies should...
That's too far for me.
Like colonies should govern themselves, but nobody should live on Earth. It's not humans were meant to live on space. It is that nobody should live on Earth.
Right.
Obviously...
We're just not allowed to wear shoes when you land on Earth anymore, right? Like a mosque. You got to take them off at the spaceport.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the air condition, like the air compression place where you do like the quarantine before going through, but it has all the little knitted slippers that you would find at the dentist or at like your grandmother's office. Yeah. You put those on before going to the air.
So I'm sending you guys a picture here. Naturally, this preaching resonates with the people of the space colonies, right? The guy saying like, "Hey, you should govern yourselves," is to the people who he's talking to. They're like, "Yeah, you're right."
This looks like older anime. This is a very cool space station as well.
I'm pretty sure this is from the original one.
It looks older, yeah. I like it.
Daikun's preaching particularly struck a chord with the those of the Side 3 station. So this is Side 3.
Okay.
Also called Munzo. Side 3 was located behind the moon at Lagrange Point 2. It was built for capacity over comfort, while many stations which preceded it were built with a sort of open concept floor plan that included views of the cosmos. Side 3 was what was known as a closed type colony with no open view of space. So
it's like a big loft apartment where it's just like, yeah, it's form over function, really. It's just like you're going to be, you and 1 million other people are going to be here. Well, there's like a polycule constantly arguing in a loft made of 2x4s on the space station as well.
Yo, yeah, flush me out the trash waste or however you, I do not want to be crammed into like shoulder to shoulder conditions in a space station like, oh, that sounds awful. But
Again, this kind of supports that like in canon, the conspiracy theory that like the government was kidnapping people and shipping them to space was that like there was very nice space stations clearly built, so they have the capacity to do it. But then there was also just these like just cram as many people in as you can space stations kind of made.
Imagine when they were launching it, they're like, priority, please board now. And there's like one guy who goes in. It's like, all right, now general admission, your turn to board. And it's just a million people in line. Like
it's a bunch of people with bags over their heads being pushed into
just a bag over your head going through.
Like check the passport. Passport photos, the bag over the head too.
You got a bag over your head. You got like the shackles, like your arms are shackled to your waist, and you're trying to undo your belt to get through the metal detector. Take off your shoes with your fucking hands shackled to your waist. So, after the assassination of the Earth Federation leader Ricardo Martinez, the Earth Federation had veered to the right as expected, and as such, despite the fact that by 50 UC, about 90% of all humans lived in space, most of those living on colonies were considered second-class citizens to those on Earth. So,
yeah, I was going to ask earlier if the plan ended up being to basically ghettoize the space stations, right? Like they're what is it? Redlining or whatever. It's gerrymandering space. It's gerrymandering orbit, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, like Earth is beautiful in that you still get all the economy of the people still producing stuff out in space, and like you have the rich owners who still live on Earth and get to enjoy like mountains and rivers and lakes and trees, whereas people on the stations, you know, they're in these mega structure cities essentially.
Yeah,
30 years feels like nothing to mobilize 90% of the population.
Years, still, yeah.
But, well, didn't we talk about like in the 20s too? We weren't even all there yet.
Yeah, so it's 40% by the year 40 UC. Wow. In the 30 UC, there was only 500 million. So it's actually in 20 years that we've moved most people to space.
Yeah. That's insane.
The large majority.
Rich people will get their fucking shit together if it will abuse the poor.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even big pharma couldn't get 90% of people to take a shot. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so coupled with this impression was a slow building truth that many of those born in space were changing, evolving as a species. So I'm going to have a quote for you guys here. It is a bit of a longer one. It is going to reference the new types who I talked about very briefly before, but we're not going to dwell too much on them. But this is from Xian Zoom Daikun addressing the people of Side 3. The universe is a new environment which will compel mankind to change. If the first stage in mankind's evolution was his evolution from an ape to a human, and the second stage was his breakthrough from feudalism to the rational science of the Renaissance, then the third will be his transformation into a new type of human, a man with profound sensitivity and insight, and a far greater awareness of the vastness of time and space. The transition to new types will be a natural one. The act of walking increased man's range of movement and helped the concept of tribe and nation state to develop. Powered vehicles expanded man's awareness to a global level, and now civilization is advancing into outer space. By living and working in space, man's consciousness will transcend the boundaries of Earth and become truly universal. The vastness of space will be home, and as man's consciousness expands, he will begin to tap the unutilized portions of his cerebrum. The over half of his brain cells unused since time immemorial, the enormous untapped mental reserves given by God precisely for the new environment of space that will act as the trigger. O people of space, now is the time to awaken, to realize your latent potential. We are at the dawn of a transformation of mankind, a true enlightenment of the human race, and we may finally be poised, ready to transcend what has always been thought the impossible, infinite space and time itself. This is no idle dream. To live in a new universe, man must transcend the psychological limitations of his old environment. It is the height of arrogance for those who remain on Earth to look up at the heavens and believe they can continue to rule over all its inhabitants. It is true that we, the space colonists, were largely shipped from Earth against our will as a population control measure. But now we are developing a new identity and awareness. We are a new people. We live, eat, and sleep among the stars. We live in infinite space, and we will have access to infinite energy until the sun burns out 50 billion years from now. Our consciousness will expand, and infinite space will be our true home. God has given us the stars to live among.
Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum. Dude, that's the end of fucking 2001 too. They transcend space and time. He watches himself grow old, and the fetus is there, and there's that whole thing where like the colors are flying at you. It's very cool. That was the last obelisk too, is for them to get over time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of parallels. I think as you're bringing it, I didn't think of it when writing, but as you bring it up, yeah, there's definitely a lot of parallels. To,
Yeah.
I also like
Space
the
Odyssey.
old science of like using 10% of our brain on
Yeah,
Earth
I know,
and like
yeah.
opening our third eye in orbit now is great.
Yeah. I mean, it was written in the 70s, right? So,
Yeah. Of course.
You just need a slave master robot to teach a feral human how to think like a computer, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that's what
Yeah.
Herbert said. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this is Zeon Zoom Daikun speaking to the people of Side 3, as I mentioned. Obviously, a pretty radical guy. In some senses in the cool way, but also in some senses in the like, politically radical, right?
Yeah.
He mentions we're being it's a population control that people were shipped from Earth thing. I do think it is like, I do think it did happen in the canon. But in the canon, in the universe, it is like a conspiracy theory that not everybody believes it. I don't know for sure that it's confirmed or denied, but I'm going to assume it is kind of confirmed. Either way, this guy is using it as a political talking point, right? To say like we were all kidnapped. That shouldn't be, but they did us a favor. So now let's we should be ruling ourselves basically.
Yeah.
In the year UC 62. 10 years after Zeon Zoom Daikun moved to Side 3, he declares himself leader of Side 3 while also announcing Side 3's Declaration of Independence, creating the Autonomous Republic of Zeon. A few years earlier, the Earth Federation forces had begun overhauling their navy, and when Side 3 declares independence, they establish their own national defense force, but neither side wants to escalate immediately to conflict. I think this is the two timelines, like the original Mobile Suit Gundam timeline and the Origin timeline, kind of messing me up a little bit. So there's going to be a few points where I'm not sure. Like there is no conflict. The dates is what I'm not sure about, really. So This is UC 62 that we have. They declare independence. They become an autonomous republic, but there will be some like occupation of them. There will be some pieces which don't necessarily fit together in the narrative, but I'll do my best here. So instead of open conflict in UC 62, the Earth Federation does its best to inflict economic sanctions and try to get the Republic back in line with something called the Bardot policy, which halted essentially all resources to Side 3. So no more trade to Side 3. You guys don't get anything. There are agricultural centers on Side 3, so the station is at least somewhat self-sufficient, but international tariffs and not shipping anything to them.
Corn became vastly too expensive.
Embargoes is the word that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So there's embargoes on shipping stuff to Side 3, essentially. Relative peace actually continues between the Earth Federation and the Republic, with no large-scale conflicts breaking out for over a decade. The Republic clearly managed to be self-sufficient within the Bardot policy in place, and they continue to fervently develop their defense force to keep it that way. So obviously, small fish facing this huge fighting force. They didn't necessarily have a standing army, but their top priority right now is like, let's get an army in case they ever decide to bring the troops. They did form their own national defense force, but it's very, very small in comparison to the Earth Federation's entire one, and they haven't brought it to bear yet. But just in case, let's be ready, right?
Right.
Around this time, a Republic scientist by the name of Dr. Trenov Minovsky has the breakthrough of a lifetime.
Here's that Russian you didn't trust earlier, Jamie.
He is Russian. He was born in Chernobyl on Earth, and will move to space shortly.
Okay.
He has 3 eyes.
Yeah.
For his entire life, Dr. Minovsky had been searching for when was the Chernobyl reactor disaster?
Like 1989.
Yeah, so
it's the late 80s.
If he's from the original show, he predates the disaster, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then most people would have left.
Oh, yeah,
already.
that's true. They would have called it.
Damn. Yeah, the Gundam saved us from Chernobyl. That's very nice.
Gundam.
Yeah.
Thank you, robot.
Thank you, Gundam. I can drink water now.
Gundam picks up one of the rocks, and the guy in the Gundam, like, his hand starts bubbling. That guy with
the firefighter.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. That will also come up later. For his entire life, Dr. Minovsky had been searching for a new type of fusion reactor. While the science was sound, it was firmly theoretical. It would work, but only with a specific type of particle, a particle which had not yet been discovered.
I like this guy being born in Chernobyl, pre-crisis, and in the fiction is just like, well, these ones work fine, obviously, but we need a better one, I think.
Can we outright a Gundam? What's the particle going to be called? Is it a Gundam a G particle? Is it
it's
Pete?
It's no, because we established Gundam is the name of like a military force. It's a mobile suit, so it might be like the MS reactor or MS particle or something like that. If I was going to make it up, or it would be like Xeon or Zion or
I'll say Z particle.
Is this an X? Or is this Zion like
it's
like ZI or is it XE?
ZEON?
Xeon. Oh, okay, Xeon.
You had all the clues, Mr. Policeman. It will come to be called the Minovsky particle.
Of course,
Minovsky, who's going to discover it, but
he would name it after himself.
He was really close when you said MS particle because it is often shorted to the M particle.
M particle,
but for Minovsky, not for mobile suit.
I mean, I got close on the wrong path, but thank you for the credit. I'll take it.
Minovsky had for a long time been working for the Federation, the Earth Federation, but he was eventually let go when the broader scientific community labeled him a crackpot at best. The word I saw used to describe him was heretic. I didn't understand why heretic would be used by scientists, but we'll call him a crackpot. Leaving the Federation, he found his way to Side 3, where they were desperate for bright minds looking to make radical changes. They would take any opportunity to get an edge over the Federation, right? So he essentially can't get the funding that he needs on Earth. Nobody believes that his theoretical reactor could ever work. Too much institution, too much bureaucracy, too much academia. So he goes to Side 3, where they're like, we'll pay you whatever you want if you can just like develop something for us, because we just need geniuses here.
Yeah, okay.
In the year 65 UC, while testing an extremely rare helium-3 isotope in the reactor, there was a reaction on the inner wall, which created a new particle, which would come to be known as the Minovsky particle.
I love the idea. Sorry, before we get too far from the scientists who just like, hey, we need people to create shit. It's just got to be new. Just get in here. Oh, we don't care what it is. It's got to be new. It's got to be great. It's like people just making the most dumb shit, like sex Gundams and like how to pop corn without fire or something.
That new particle could pop the fuck out of corn, dude.
Do you know that's a specific type of corn that they use for popcorn? Like there's like a popcorn corn that they use.
Really?
Yeah.
I did know that.
To create the kernels.
I did know that because I think I tried to pop normal old regular corn before.
When you put just normal corn in a pan, it just makes cooked corn.
Yeah.
But it's still got water in it, where I know the water is like a tiny little bit of water is what still pops it in the microwave. Yeah. But I figured I always imagine, like the autumnal decoration corn, if you just let that dry and strip it off, you could pop it. Would always be.
Dude, some food is so dramatic when you cook it, huh? Like bread.
Lobsters?
Yeah. Lobsters screaming to death.
Yeah. Popcorn. Poof. Some stuff is just like, you boil a potato, it's soft. You boil an egg, it's hard, huh?
Fajitas at the restaurant?
Oh,
screaming when they come out.
Oh, man.
Only extroverts order fajitas at a restaurant, right?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Fajitas at a restaurant.
Or a Caesar.
Does that sizzle in a frying pan as they bring it out to you as well?
And someone who spent a lot of time sitting in a bar, if one person orders a Caesar, a lot of other people start ordering Caesars.
Oh yeah,
it's just it's like a contagious thing.
I think they're gross. I like tomato juice or clam juice. If I'm I know this is a radical thing to say. I don't really like drinking clam juice.
But our gamer subs were supposed to be clamato flavors, right?
Yeah. Are clams dramatic when you cook them? No, they just open up a little.
No, they just like separate a bit. And
they like spread out. They go.
The little arms and legs just hanging over the shell.
So the Minovsky particle, mass-produced from helium-3, which needs to be mined from Jupiter as it is fleetingly rare elsewhere in the solar system, would reinvent physics in the Gundam universe. I did look it up. It is very rare on Earth, potentially common on the moon, but most people agree that Jupiter probably has the vast stores of helium-3 in our solar system.
Yeah, so I was thinking one of my favorite films, Moon, which has two actors in it, which is Sam Rockwell and Kevin Spacey. is
a good name though, Spacey for
I know.
a movie called Moon. It's pretty good.
He plays a fax machine that molests kids. It's a helium mining operation on the moon where they have the things they do. They like it kind of looks like a combine on the subject of corn, where it like rotates in the dirt and ejects it out the back, and it's a helium mining operation, which was like to solve the power crisis on Earth at the time. But you should watch Moon. It's directed by David Bowie's son. You
should watch Up. There's a lot of helium balloons in it. True. And whenever they're let go from the house, they all go to Jupiter.
You should watch I Love You Man, because Paul Rudd goes, or not Paul Rudd, but
what?
everything you got, like he breathed helium. He sounds like he breathed helium when he does it, right? So.
You got your 3 movie recommendations from the Lore Boys this week.
Yeah. People in WoW still say that all the time when you're supposed to be pumping DPS. Everything you got. It's a good one.
So incredibly powerful, the particle led to the invention of what will be called mega particle cannons, as well as ultra compact fusion reactors.
PCs.
The first ultra compact fusion reactors was revealed in 71 UC. Great for powering ships or creating powerful beam weapons. It did have some drawbacks. The reactors would shed Minovsky particles which would create a field of them in a wide spread around the reactor itself. Minovsky particles also do not play nice with a lot of different types of radiation. Radar systems, long-range wireless comms, infrared, and even the visible light spectrum become fogged in these kind of field.
Oh, this is why you need psychic pilots in your Gundam.
This is exactly why you need
let's go. Gundam. Okay, cool.
You can't just let a robot drive it, is because robots literally can't drive it.
Cool.
This is that while ships would become very powerful and leapfrog their technology forward, it came at the cost of all that stuff, as well as long-range missile targeting. So if your ship has these ultra-compact fusion reactors in it, you can't target things at a distance.
Get targeted?
You can still get targeted, I believe. It's your actual targeting system wouldn't work, which is why a lot of Gundams use swords and shields and things like that, because melee combat or close-range combat became very important when you don't have the ability to target anything at long range.
I love that. I remember working backwards on a couple of concepts that I just loved when I was writing my comic, and I can absolutely imagine thinking of an excuse as to why doesn't your robot soldier use a gun? And the answer is a sword is fucking cooler.
Exactly.
But there's also this, just in case.
And it's the NPC cannons that make it so like an AI can't pilot this thing?
No, sorry. I just mentioned it also creates mega particle cannons. Like the Minovsky particle has led to all these different inventions, including these very, very efficient weapons in space for space combat, right? Right. So why would a ship need to have this field of radiation? Essentially, is because it would use these particles basically.
Okay.
Also capable of interrupting them. Like it is the MacGuffin, right? In Gundam in some sense, in that like they are able to pretty much do it's the magic particle that they're pretty much able to do anything with. If they just they could just write an episode after 45 years and be like, yeah, it also does this thing because we need it in this specific episode for this specific storyline, right?
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, the Force in Star Wars does that, and
exactly.
Adam and BioShock did that. It's just plot hole filler is the science magic that we need. But
Lore Boys canon.
That's a fine. It's Lore Boys canon. Yeah.
To your point, Peter, though, I think they do a really good job grounding it in science. I did look up like the Minovsky particle. The wiki page on it might be the largest wiki page I found, and it is all based on real to me theoretical physics, in that I can't tell you if any of this is crazy or not, but it looks real enough. They have equations and shit in there on how helium chains decompose and stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. That seems sciencey enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you put one square root symbol in an equation, I will see that and just be probably right.
Now that next to a H3 in the denominator, right? As soon as you got denominators and numerators, I'm sold.
Dude, yeah, that equation is squared and base.
So Daikun had his MacGuffin. He had what he needed to become completely independent from the Earth Federation, and he was ready to lead Side 3 into the future. In 68 UC, however, Xeon dies suddenly and unexpectedly.
Died suddenly? Hashtag?
He has a quote unquote heart attack.
Was it the vaccine, or was it the working with imaginary nuclear reactors that killed him?
He wanted to report on his lead aerospace company, Gundam Boeing.
Oh, of course.
And then suddenly turned up dead. It was very mysterious.
Yeah, they have Boeing wing and they just break off.
Another politician, Daegwon Zibo, who had worked closely with Daikun, was conveniently around for his last words, was the only person in the room for Daikun's last words,
Right.
where Daikun allegedly appointed Zibo as his successor. So he basically
shit.
It's very Roman to be like, I just got out of a room with the king or the emperor who died, and he made me emperor.
Yeah, he stabbed himself to death in front of me, actually. It's crazy with my knife.
Yeah.
That's basically the whole problem of House of Dragons season 1 is like, no, I want my daughter to be the queen. And then nobody sees it really happen. So they're like, no, it should be the boy.
Yeah, well, it also happened in season 1 of Game of Thrones with Ned and the king, and then it also happened allegedly in real life with Stalin,
the War of Roses,
who like pissed his pants and had a stroke, and then one guy like Brezhnev or whatever was in the room with him. He was like, "It's me now. I'm King Soviet."
Damn.
Yeah,
and in his stroke.
You should watch The Death of Stalin. It's a very good comedy.
It is a good movie. I mean, I was just listening to something about Queen Zenobia, who was this like Syrian, like self-proclaimed queen of Palmyra, who basically tried to like say I'm an emperor of Rome, and ended up like capturing Egypt, which was like probably the most important state in Rome for a long, long time. I was listening to this podcast about it, and the expert on she's like a Roman historian. She was basically like, yeah, pretty much every emperor there was one emperor of Rome in the 3rd century who died of natural causes, and it was extremely unusual because every other one for the last 200 years had been assassinated. It was just unheard of to die of natural. He died of the plague, and everyone was like, there was no succession plan, there was no nothing, and that's when she kind of said like, yeah, I'm an emperor too, and like invaded Egypt basically. Marcus Aurelius, whom this Roman historian described as the Giga Chad of ancient Rome, which I thought was very good, took over and it didn't go well for her. But it's essentially what we have here. So Daikun, this kind of like free-thinking, progressive, independent nationalist for side 3, is assassinated. This is another one of those things that's like, I don't think it's ever explicit, but it is pretty much explicit that it's a conspiracy theory in canon, but he was explicitly assassinated by this guy and given the wrong medication or something. Dies of a heart attack. The guy who killed him steps out and says like, oh yeah, he proclaimed me king now, so I'm king.
He was too tired to write it, and so that's why it's in my handwriting.
Yeah. The Republic's Ministry of Defense, under orders from the Republic's new leader, immediately ordered to create weapons to be used by this particle. So we have the new leader who has this kind of revelatory particle discovered in these revelatory new engines. Basically says like, hey, we need weapons. Like, fuck you, eggheads. The first thing we need is weapons, right?
Yeah.
So I will send you guys a picture here. The result was a fusion of 2 concepts: a free-flying space pod and a new invention known as the Active Mass Balance Auto Control System, or AMBAC system. The result was a 10-meter tall freestanding bipedal machine designated the Mobile Space Utility Instrumental Tactical 01, often shorted to MS-01 or Mobile Suit 01.
Cool.
Yeah. It really feels like they ran out of material when they got to the arms.
The arms.
Oh yeah.
I figure it's like you probably need them to be
mobility.
Like more articulate, right? Yeah, exactly.
It looks like a diving suit, kind of, but with
that.
like sweater sleeves on it.
Yeah.
But like the shins are just like insanely huge, like bigger than the thighs.
But it's probably so heavy, and this is clearly being tested somewhere with gravity.
Right, and you have to be bottom heavy, I guess.
Also, peep the heels on this thing down. This girl is slaying.
Dude, yeah. Fill the shoes with lead so we don't fall over when we're running.
So we have our first mobile suit, but more on those after the break. So mobile suit development was still in its infancy, and it was an awkward one. The MS-01 was still known to fall over.
Get acne?
Was not yet fitted with the super compact fusion reactor. Got acne, had voice cracks, had dreams about their teacher, Just awkward dreams, I guess, about their high school teachers.
Could you imagine if like the radio signals of your pubescent mecha like had voice cracks instead of static when you were like calling out?
I must have wanted remote for duty.
Hal, I need you to open fire on that other Gundam. I'm sorry. I can't do that, Dave.
So the recently rebranded Principality of Zeon, rebranded from the Republic after its new leader took place. He basically made it a monarchy. They rushed to create better, faster, more agile mobile suits, much to the dismay of Dr. Minovsky, who did not want his invention used for weapons of war. Goddamn hippie liberal scientists, I tell you.
Yeah, better not make a sword out of this.
Although he invented the mega particle cannon, so.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't think you would use the mega particle cannon for war. Ultimately, in 72 UC, Minovsky defected back to the Earth Federation, where he would help their technology catch up, though it won't quite fully do so in our story. From here on out, the Republic / Principality, I'm going to keep calling it the Republic. It is the Principality for now. The Republic's science will continuously outpace Earth's, and that will be their leading edge. That will be the only thing that kind of keeps them toe to toe with the Earth Federation, which can field a much larger navy, is the fact that they have more advanced weaponry and technology.
I do like imagining him arriving at the spaceport, taking his shoes off, obviously, inshallah.
Yeah.
And then just like a briefcase full of papers, just like, you guys, I fucked up. Old blueprints. It's like, look, I understand it doesn't have sleeves, but just we need to make one.
The Republic's remaining scientists weren't deterred, however, and continued to crank out mobile suit prototypes, each better than the last. The first, which will get mass-produced, was the MS-05 Zaku 1, produced in 74 UC. So
I know what this thing looks like. My buddy had the action figure. It's very round and has like angry gas mask face, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I did send you the picture, and it's exactly that. Has the angry gas mask face for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. Kyle had this toy.
I was gonna say, dude, I bet you whenever they were making a bunch of these things, they were gonna give it a giant piece. And this guy does.
They sure did. Yeah.
They did. Yeah.
He's got the big cod piece for sure.
Yeah, and it's a tactical cod piece.
Hey, the one thing you want about your warfare capable space suits is they got to be virile. Huh?
You gotta be virile.
You got to make sure that they are phallic.
If you want to fight like a man, you gotta look like a man. You know?
Sun Tzu wrote, "Your mobile mecha suits gotta have big dong in the art of war." Okay,
Yeah,
it's in there.
Yeah, young Sheldon told me about it.
I love that little guy.
So this was the first practical mobile suit. Plenty of mobile suits up to now. This is the Gen 5 essentially. But this Gen 5 is the first one that's mass produced. It's first mass produced as a kind of work machine, not necessarily as a weapon, like not necessarily as a tank, but kind of coinciding with the development of these as forklifts. They're also being developed as weapons. Like from day one, they're also being developed as weapons. There's just like a recognition that like, hey, this is an extremely agile forklift, right? Which is the dream.
If you put a cannon on a pallet, you could probably shoot with a forklift over cover, right?
I don't think it's OSHA. Well, actually, we've heard from the Discord they love
OSHA doesn't apply to war, James. Okay?
Yeah.
OSHA is the Geneva Convention of warehouses.
Yeah.
They just get in the way of the fun, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Do you only follow OSHA when it's convenient? Okay.
So the very next year, combat-ready versions were produced, and the first battalion or Gundam of mobile suits is formed. See, we learned something on this
There we
episode.
go. Yeah.
I didn't write that into the script. I'm saying that because you told me earlier, Peter.
Of course.
I could be wrong.
We very briefly Googled it, which is a good enough pedigree for our show.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, we'll take it to young Sheldon later.
Yeah, exactly. We do normally get young Sheldon to vet all of our scripts, but obviously when we learn something on air, we have to take it to him post script.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mobile suits served a very specific function in the Gundam universe. Both the EFF and ZMF had tanks, cruisers, and weapons platforms capable of bringing massive iron to bear. Both also had more nimble ships with less weaponry capable of maneuvering quickly and effectively. The ultra-compact fusion reactors suddenly allowed for both, like Peter said earlier. Ultralight vessels capable of packing a devastating punch with the particle cannons invented by Minovsky. The problems presented by the Minovsky particle, lack of radar, sensors, and infrared meant that these needed to be piloted by a human or some sort of new type of human.
Oh.
The lack of long-range targeting capabilities for these ships meant that they needed to excel at close-range combat, like I said earlier. In 77 UC, a nationalist faction seizes control of military forces in the Side 6 station, so a different station, inciting a civil war with Federation loyalists. This is not written into the script, but just because it's a new rule we have, they're located at Lagrange 4, so everybody take a drink.
Oh,
Lagrange 4.
I didn't write which Lagrange point they had been in, but because we've made it a thing now, I guess I will mention that they were located at Lagrange.
We've got more than enough Lagrange for every...
And this is side. It's SIDE, right? And I guess this is the side of the thing they're orbiting. Maybe
I don't actually know why they chose side. I'm gonna guess it's like a kanji like Japanese translation that just makes sense. Like it probably makes more sense in the original Japanese than it does in English. Is my guess. So this incites so there's a civil war on Side 6 with Federation loyalists because a nationalist faction has seized control of the station. The ZMF naturally backs the nationalists because they did the same thing with Side 3, who are calling for independence from the Earth Federation, and the ZMF deploys a squad of the MSO5s. This is the first time the battalion's been deployed, essentially. They are able to completely blockade the EFF from getting to Side 6 and prevent reinforcements from arriving. Ultimately, the nationalists win, and Side 6 becomes the second station to declare independence as the Ria Republic. Side 6 becomes.
Okay.
In the same year, an Earth Federation military cruiser, which was arriving at Side 3, ignored traffic control's warnings to give right of way and collided with a freighter leaving the station. The cruiser's engines ignited on impact, and it went spinning out of control, crashing into one of the city's agricultural blocks, destroying both ship and structure.
So then they're like, why do we even fight with suits? We could just throw
crash ships into each other.
Yeah. And then it was the year 2001. Or when did that happen?
Yeah.
It's funny you say 2001, because that is like the end of Halo, which came out in 2000. They just blow up the Pillar of Autumn.
When was 9/11?
The 2001 A Space Odyssey, so probably.
Was 9/11 2001?
It sure was.
It was.
2001.
Okay,
it's
hang on a
until
second,
the
guys.
Space Oddity. 2001, a no-fly zone.
Yeah, that's a classic conspiracy that Stanley Kubrick did 9/11. Right?
No. That was the big obelisk he's knocking
He filmed
down?
9/11 in a movie studio on the moon.
He put that guy on the ground in the Mr. Peanut costume there to make it seem more real.
What if 2001 did have... Yeah, we got to rewatch that through the lens of, is this 9/11 predictable? Yeah.
I try and go through my entire life asking myself, did this predict 9/11? Like, that's the lens I wear at all times.
There's a lot of obelisks. There's like a lot of flying. Black box Hal. Maybe there's something there. They make the guy do the spacewalk. Remember whenever the guy who crashed the plane had to go outside the plane and walk on the wings. Remember
exactly,
that part?
Are you imagining like a circus man on a biplane that did 9/11?
Weren't the Taliban employed by the Ringling Brothers? I thought that was.
Of course. It's when they pulled the funding is what radicalized them.
Yeah.
They took away their elephants.
Dude, yeah, America would have had such a much harder time demonizing Arab people if they all the Taliban came out of a clown car or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, instead of that Toyota pickup.
They'd be so fun.
So we have side 6, which is declared independence. The ZMF backs them up in kind of the first open display of mobile suits. At side 3, there is this their own 9/11 where a Federation military cruiser specifically crashes into the station after ignoring air traffic control and destroys an agricultural block of all things. Like that's their food supply when they are embargoed by the Federation. The Federation doesn't send them any food, right?
Okay.
Obviously, this leads to outrage from the people of the Republic. This outrage was not helped by the fact that the local Earth Federation military garrison took it upon themselves to quell the riots. A few things here, okay? The manga has this different in that the Earth Federation doesn't do any of these things. It's much more accidental, and it does paint the Republic as more of the bad guys, whereas the anime keeps it more ambiguous and kind of both sides are bad, like I said before.
Okay.
Also,
the government sends out Gundams with like rubber bullets, but just going through
the size of footballs.
Going just straight through all the farm.
A pepper spray canister like at the end of its arm that just shoots like a water cannon. Like
like strips of paint off cars.
Just a skeleton left there.
I was thinking of like the Kardashian girl, whatever, where it says you've got like a Gundam handing out Pepsis to people at protest.
Pepsi's laced with pepper spray.
Yeah, damn Gundams owning the Soda Stream.
Yeah. So, in the anime Origin, there's a strong EFF presence in the city of Zum on the Side 3 station. I can't figure out why this happened, where this like why a Earth Federation military garrison is on Side 3, which is an autonomous republic at this point, and has been for 20 years, right?
Like they'd have to have allowed it.
Yeah, which does happen, right? But it does seem like it seems like weird. I couldn't find the exact reason why this was ever allowed. I'm gonna say Lore Boys canon that this has been like a creeping thing where the Earth Federation has been like increasing their foothold on the station. Just like their pressure to do so because they will want to bring them back into the fold, right? Coupled with the incompetency from the new regent Zabi, that has allowed them to reestablish this foothold. That's kind of backed up by some stuff. This guy being incompetent is kind of backed up. He's also extremely competent at some things, but governing state doesn't seem to be one of them particularly.
A lot of like actual politics happens that way, where you send like one bureaucrat as like a foreign liaison, and then that bureaucrat brings their assistant, and then that's also the way like colonization worked, right? Where it's the frog in the boiling water sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean it is pretty explicit too that like the Republic cannot afford war with the Earth Federation, even though they have better technology. Like their deterrent is like, we're going to cost you a lot if you do this, right? But everybody knows they will lose. So like them being like, okay, well, you will lose if you go to war with us. So we're going to put a garrison on your thing to keep things under control does kind of make sense as well, right?
I like the frog in the boiling water for Quebec politics because of all the French people trying to save their language, and frog is a derogatory term for French.
Oh
people.
Yeah.
So just
my mom calls Quebecois peppers for some reason. I've never understood.
Yeah, that's also a common slur for our kind.
Well, we get
I was
one
born
back.
in Quebec. I can say it.
Yeah, they don't know
you were
this.
Born as an Englishman in Quebec, you explicitly can.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck that.
You're the one that they don't want saying it. You're the only person they don't want saying it.
what they call us back is tight carré, which means square heads.
Squarehead, yeah.
So we're square heads.
Yeah. You know what? Doesn't bother me.
I'll take that. It seems like a nice thing.
Me and all the other immigrants in Montreal are going to keep voting NDP, you sister fucking hicks.
So no matter the reason why they were allowed to establish this garrison, one young cadet at the local ZMF training academy was hard at work cleaning up the rubble of the crashed freighter. While doing so, fun fact, he does take note of the new mobile suits which had been deployed for cleanup. So these are the forklift variations, not the military ones.
Okay.
I pictured maids for the cleanup, just like big
Like
robots,
French
with
maids? Okay.
Yeah, like French frogs.
I'll note that down for the art. Jamie Fetish Art Gundam.
Please, yeah.
These military suits, these aren't military suits, like I said. But these mobile suits do strike a chord with the young man who goes by the name Char Aznable or Aznable.
Char Aznable?
Char, yeah, Char.
No, they don't go. It's
the
Charles.
names in this are insane.
I am going. I mean, yeah, there's like billions of people. They're living in space. They're from a wide variety of ethnic backgrounds.
Yeah.
I don't think Char's a crazy name.
Does his suit look German to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fascist ideology in Gundam, right? Because of how it works. I mean, they have the horns on the helmet and everything. You'll notice he has something covering his eyes. He's the only person that wears these things covering his eyes, and this character Char Aznable almost always has his eyes covered. I'm saying all this because it's the spoiler thing, which I said I wasn't going to include. But for everybody who knows the stories, they're popping off right now. They're going like, "Oh yeah, shit, he does." But you don't really see his eyes, and when he does reveal his eyes, it's a big deal for him.
He's actually Cyclops from X-Men, and lasers shoot out of his eyes, and he can't control it.
Jamie, I said I'm not going to spoil anything, man. You keep doing this. So young Char also noticed the arrival of a battleship around the same time while they're kind of cleaning up the rubble. After having seen the EFF use their pepper spray water cannons on the civilian population, he suspected that this battleship was bad news and that they might once more turn on innocents. Making use of the prevalent anti-EFF sentiments at the academy, the military academy, where he was a cadet, Char convinces a group of his peers to launch an attack on the nearby Federation garrison. So they're basically the leaders, Zabi and his children, whom he has placed in positions of eminent power, including like the academy itself is run by one of Zabi's children.
I can't believe how lucky it is that the entire family was elected legitimately like that.
Right? Yeah. You love to see it. You love to see a nation come together to elect one family to rule over them like that. So the Zabi family, the monarchs, the dictators, are against open war with the Federation. Again, they know they will lose. They will probably be hanged for treason. It's not going to be good for them no matter what. So they're kind of just like urging, just shut up and clean up the mess, and like we'll go on with business as usual. This young upstart, for reasons which I won't reveal because it'd be spoilers, does decide to take matters into his own hands. They attack under cover of night in what became known as the Dawn Rebellion. Char's team is in charge of seizing the control tower, and they do so quite effectively. They lose one person, I believe, throughout in the entire expedition. The element of surprise carries them despite being outgunned and outmanned, and the students are victorious. They have overthrown this barracks garrison, whatever political refuge for the Earth Federation inside 3 in the city of Zoom. Shortly after the Dawn Rebellion, once the 6th generation of mobile suits had been fully rolled out, the Principality of Zeon declared an all-out war on the Earth Federation. So the Dawn Rebellion is the lead up to what will come to be known as the 1 Year War, and it kind of it's really going to set the stage for the rest of Mobile Suit and all of the Mobile Suit Gundam and all the wars that kind of fall into it. Is this beginning war essentially? It begins.
I'm just kind of like wondering if this guy with the like Kaiser helmet with the horns on it, who is like a student rebel who I would reflexively support, might be the bad guy though. He has a scary outfit.
He's the protagonist of the Origin series for sure.
Really?
See, I want to tell you why he is, but it's spoilers anyway.
Yeah, I'd rather
watch it. Watch it tonight. You said you're gonna watch it tonight or whatever. Like,
I'll put it on if I can find a dub.
Episodes.
Yeah.
Wars don't have good and bad sides, dude. It's just two different sides, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This guy.
Both sides are the American taxpayer for some reason.
One thing I would say. Okay, so this guy is absolutely. I say this guy is good. This guy is extremely morally gray. He is on a personal crusade, which is justified. The lives lost in pursuit of that personal crusade are unforgivable, probably. But
Yeah. Okay.
watch
Small
the
Atreides
show.
again.
Yeah, watch the show
Yeah.
if you're interested. I think it is fascinating. Normally, I would just spoil it, but I thought it was too interesting. Having not seen the show and knowing how the execution was, the story I think is very good.
Patreon.com/theloreboys. If I've watched it, you'll find out what I think of it next week, baby.
There you go on the bonus audio.
Yeah, exactly.
So the 1 year war begins with the 1 week battle. This is the opening salvo from the ZFM on Earth's ZMF, on Earth's forces, which would see almost 3 billion with a B space colonists killed.
Oh, that is too many.
Yeah, like I said earlier, what they're fighting for, independence in the face of overwhelming oppression, is absolutely justified. The lengths they go to are absolutely not justifiable. So
Thumbs down, guys.
two thumbs down for me, dog. The ZMF was both brutal and discriminate, using nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons in surprise attacks on sides 1, 2, and 4.
All of them, dude. All the wrong weapons to use
Right?
for that. They read the Geneva Convention backwards. It
Yeah.
was upside down.
Oh, I had the dang thing upside down. So the first attack occurred exactly 3 seconds after the formal declaration of war was made. So this is like a tongue-in-cheek thing where it was like the 3-second warning or something like that is what they refer to it, and
yeah.
being like, yeah, it's a fucked up way to declare war.
Yeah, Jamie busting after 6 White Claws.
Dude, yeah, I don't know why. It's like you already planned it at that point, like things that are like the bomb had already left the station at that point. If you're
Absolutely, yeah. They were there all in position, which like
it was
one of those
in
things,
the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny, like being in my 30s now, much older and wiser. Like I can distinctly remember being probably a teenager, probably in my 20s, being like, why would you even declare war? Just go to war. And now being like, oh well, no, there's a lot of civilians involved. You want to get them out of the way so the armies can fight, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I mean, this is like a perfect example of like why, because like the ZMF is going to go after the civilians, pretty much. Like civilians are getting out alive here.
I'd like to hazard a guess they didn't have 3 billion soldiers, right?
Speaking of like planned pulling the triggers, when you guys are taking pee in the toilet, do you ever feel your pees coming to the end and you start the flush early? So like the flush is going and then you finish
absolutely.
peeing mid-flush?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And I actually have a gun to my head, and that if I don't flush it all down, then I say dolphin and it goes off.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, it's like really a hassle to pull over and pee while we're driving, honestly.
Well,
I know you just have a learner's permit.
Yeah, now that you have your license, you could drive the car away from the scene of the crime. But in the past, you would have just been stuck there.
Yeah.
You can't pull over on the 401, Jamie.
Damn.
Reminds me of that classic Lisa Simpson line: "You can't drive, Dad. You don't have a license, or they have your license." Well, I'll try anyway. Starts the car and goes, "Oh, it worked." So the ZMF use their mobile suit forces to eliminate a number of Earth Federation forces before killing the inhabitants of a number of civilian colonies with gas.
Dang.
They just gas the colonies. Side 6. You guys will remember the Rio Republic, which had declared it independence as well, says kind of in that opening week, we're going to stay out of this.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, totally fair. They're like kind of telling that like, oh, this other independent group, them not taking the side of the Republic at this point is pretty damning of the tactics that the Republic is using, right? Where they're just like, that's too fucked up, guys. The 1 week battle culminated in Operation British, which took place on January 3rd, 79 UC.
Love the branding.
Yeah.
This is going to prove a very apt name for a plan which involved wanton destruction and the loss of countless innocent lives.
Oh. They're going to say loss of countless teeth. Just go straight for it. Yeah. We took the fluoride out the water. Operation British.
The ZMF knew that despite their technological superiority, they were still a much weaker force than the EFF. they knew that if they were to have any chance at victory, they needed to strike fast, they needed to strike hard, and they needed to strike with finality. They conceived a plan to destroy the EFF's Central Command, which is in a fictional setting in South America called Jaburo.
Okay.
The command was located below ground in a cavern complex and wouldn't be easy to destroy, they knew. Conventional weapons, even as extreme as nukes, probably wouldn't get the job done. Jaburo was a massive facility protected by thick bedrock capable of withstanding nuclear strikes. On January 4th, one day after their declaration of war, workers on Side 2, one of the stations which they had captured,
Wait.
Huh?
Is this going to be coming back to the thing where the guy's hand get bubbled off? Are they going to radiate them out?
Sorry. No, sorry. I forgot to mention earlier. There's like a fun fact where because they use the Minovsky particle for the ultra compact fusion reactors, they're able to have these fusion reactors in there. But someone did the calculations, and again, this is pretty physics. I don't know if it makes sense or not. Right. But basically, if for a traditional nuclear reactor to create that much energy with how compact Mobile Suit Gundams are, you wouldn't be able to have the shielding necessary, and the pilot would be boiled in nanoseconds. If it wasn't this MacGuffin particle and was just a traditional nuclear reactor to produce that much energy, it would boil a human pilot that close to the reactor without any kind of shielding in seconds.
Like a frog. So he would bring his assistant and then his other assistant.
Yeah, well, the fun thing about frogs is that when you expose them to a nuclear reactor, they boil soft. But when you expose a potato to a nuclear reactor, it boils hard.
Potato gum.
I see. It's the opposite egg reaction that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I was lending to the point, but I was distracting from it. So they're under the bedrock. You can't nuke them out, but they had an idea.
Yeah, you can't nuke them out under the bedrock because the crust of the Earth is too dense to be exploded with conventional human weapons.
The Canadian shield.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dude. You know, there's mythology about Canadian shield giants.
Okay, I don't know if we should get into this.
Yeah, I haven't.
I don't know. That sounds like heresy, Peter. I don't know if we should talk about this on there. Boreal Shield lore win.
Yeah.
So they've captured 3 stations, sides 1, 2, and 4. Right. They've pretty much gassed all the civilians, almost all the civilians. Workers on side 2 finished reinforcing an arm of the station known as Island Ifish. Just a fun little quirky name they had for it. And they had attached and engaged nuclear pulse engines that were attached to the station. The engines were aiming the superstructure towards Earth. Pulling it out of orbit into Earth's gravity was their ultimate goal.
Oh.
The counterattack from the EFF was launched on January 5th. They could see what the ZMF was doing, trying to bring a space colony down on their central command. And they'd surmised basically that, well, if they're going to bring a space station down from orbit, they're probably going to crash it onto our central command, right?
Yeah, dude, and it landed on January 6th at the Capitol.
I was waiting for it to come up.
Pretty close. I didn't even think about it when I was writing it, but they were pretty close, yeah. It will be another 5 days before they're actually able to bring the superstructure into, to get it to fall into the orbit. But
January 10th is good enough. They're still patriots. Don't worry about
it. Exactly. It's like the Dr. Strangelove riding the bomb, but it's the whatever the Capitol riot shaman there on top of it.
Oh yeah.
You guys did that art one time on one episode that
Earthworm Jim, I think.
Earthworm Jim was Bad Out of Hell. It was Meatloaf. I did do Dr. Strangelove once, but I don't remember why.
I remember listening to you guys do that bit whenever I was playing Fortnite on a phone in Poland, and you guys were doing it. And I was like, "Oh, these are my friends. It's like I'm with them."
Yeah.
And we didn't even think of you once.
It was like I was a listener for a second.
I never think of any of them, for the record.
Yeah. Except for Magnus is an extremely cool cat.
Oh, dude, he's so fucking cool.
So fighting continues for over 3 days. The EFF is launching salvos of nuclear missiles at Island Ifish, trying to just destroy it before they can send it down, basically. The reinforcements which had been made by the ZMF held strong, though. So that work that they did to reinforce the station kept it together despite literal nukes hitting it.
Oh, Jamie brought it up. This is 9/11 though. They're using the device or the station as the weapon, right?
They are using the station as the weapon. Yeah.
That they did.
Like when the
predict that.
Taliban flew Tower 1 into Tower 2.
Yes, as I also remember it happening.
You're like a tower flying into a plane station.
Yeah. A bunch of clowns doing circus tricks on top of the tower. The EFF, realizing they could not destroy the station, turned to battle the defenders, but were beaten back by the superior mobile suits. So again, there's kind of been these fights on like 3 different stations, kind of a shell game from the ZMF where they've like launched attacks to draw the defenders there, but now they have this opportunity while the defenders are going to spread out through the solar system to try and land this thing on Earth on the central command.
Okay.
So their mobile suits are very effective now. They're extremely mobile, hard to hit by like ground artillery, essentially, which continues to blast inside the station. But even the ships that are able to get up there are much less mobile than the mobile suits employed by the Republic. So they're winning. They're winning the fight, or at least able to defend the station and stop it from being destroyed before they can bring it to bear. On January 9th, the EFF realized they would not be able to stop Island Ifish and instead began evacuation of Jaburo. Ground-to-air strikes on the station also ceased for fear that it would break apart now that it was already within Earth's gravity and cause even more widespread destruction. Now at this point, they're like, okay, well, if we destroy it, it's just going to be worse because it's just going to rain fire down on the entire planet.
Yeah, all over Jabaro and also Jabrazil, which the country that we are set in.
However, on January 10th, at about 8:30 in the morning, something unexpected happened. The colony entered the atmosphere, and the damage done by the EFF was amplified by the pressure of entry. Island Ifish broke apart over the Arabian Peninsula and overshot its target. At 8:41 in the morning, the station impacted Sydney, Australia, obliterating the city. I did send you guys a picture for scale of Island Ifish impacting the city of Sydney, Australia.
Looks bad.
Dude.
Looks not good. Coming in from orbit, keep in mind.
I also love the overshot their target, which from South America to Australia.
It's half the planet.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big one. That's a big.
Honestly,
we never planned for the Earth to rotate. We were shooting in a straight line.
So here's the thing, and it's backed up a little bit. Like I had the exact same reaction, but it's when you realize like it broke
Gravity
up.
would hold it in place, right?
It broke up at 8:30 in the morning over Saudi Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula, and it impacted at 8:41. This thing's lateral velocity is insanely high as it enters orbit, and you can kind of you see in the image there like how fast it's moving. You have like the cloud, like a cloud ring around it where it is impacting the atmosphere and compressing the atmosphere around it. It's basically at Mach speed hitting Sydney, and it is much larger than the city of Sydney.
Yeah.
I've heard
how fast does the Earth rotate?
Fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
very.
It rotates about a full time once a day.
Yes.
And there's all these people brushing their teeth or something.
Yeah. Your big frog coming. Yeah, this is probably good for Australia, I gotta say, because I heard their main export is just it's nothing.
Australians.
They just build more shit in Australia. It's just construction is how like everybody makes their money, and that's where all the jobs come from. So you know what?
I think oil companies are raping the land as far as exports go in Australia.
Okay. Well, you know what? There's a lot of bogans who are ready to rebuild this Australia if they lived on the outskirts of Australia.
I remember hearing or reading one time that Dubai imported sand from Australia.
Oh, you can sell.
What, they didn't have enough in the desert?
Well, it's like different type. It's so specifically sand that's better for concrete, as I think what it is.
Dubai is so stupid, dude.
Yeah,
just
it's
stop.
dumb and it shouldn't exist. Honestly, if this superstructure should have collided anywhere, it was on. Like it is on the Arabian princes that built Dubai. I'm sure there's lovely people living in Dubai, but it should never have been made. That's without question.
Yeah.
Tsunamis and earthquakes follow en masse. Obviously, this is like a detonation unlike any other. You say it's net good for Australia, and I understand what you're saying. It's a job creating, and that we got to rebuild.
Think of the economy. Think of the economy.
But I mean, this probably destroys half the continent. You know what I mean? Like the explosion that follows. More debris rains down all over North America and the Pacific Ocean, like wreaking further destruction there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, if you look, like, how's the dinosaur economy, Jamie? Bad.
They got $2 American to rub together. You know what I mean?
Checkmate, Australia.
Yeah. So seeing that their plan for a swift victory had failed because they had missed Central Command and only blew up worthless Australia, strategically speaking, of course, the ZMF retreated and the 1 year war had begun. That's where we're going to end this episode. The 1 year war being the war for the Republic of Xeon's independence is in the show, is in the shows. So if it sounds cool, check it out. Having not watched a single episode of Gundam, I gotta say, I recommend it.
Yeah,
sounds cool as hell.
Dude, we did a 2-hour episode. That doesn't happen often. This was a juicer. I had a lot to say, but also a lot to learn. So it was very cool.
As a guy only listening who has never watched any Gundam and at time of writing might this evening, I know that you have like Cowboy D&D you have to get out of the way at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I do hope this becomes a series because this rules. Like I can't wait to draw some of this shit, man. Like I can't wait. It's gonna be so good.
The entire time I'm watching it, I'm just like, every like clip I'm watching or whatever, I'm like, Pete would fucking love this. This is like everything that Pete wants. Like
You're right.
The collectible mechas that you like from Transformers, there's just cooler Gundams than there are Transformers. Absolutely, they have like cooler weapons, and it is just like where like Transformers and like a lot of Western cartoons really like they kowtow to children, right? So they're very PG 90% of the time. There's just like that's straight up war crimes, dude. They just gas like billions of people in this show, and it's like not that that's cool or anything, but at least it's like adult themes to it.
Yeah,
and I'm
Pete
just like
would prefer this to a Camaro turning into a sassy robot. Is what you were thinking. I mean, Optimus Prime saved me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so cool. Like it's not just the Gundams, right? Like there are straight up like tank battalions, and there's still like ships that are fighting, and like there's all this other stuff, and there's like people that fight and have guns and stuff.
This is why you love BattleTech so much too, because it's all like the kings and queens and knights of space, but instead of horses, they have mecha, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like the Gundams, the mobile suits are the queens, right? They have the most mobility and also like devastating firepower, but there's still plenty of pawns. There's plenty of bishops. There's plenty of rooks and knights. Yeah, that's a great analogy. I think it's super cool. This is what you've just heard is the extent of my knowledge. I would love to do more for sure. So if you want to hear me do more, consider joining our Discord, discord.gg/loreboys, and ask for it in the lore request channel. Maybe I'll do another poll on Patreon soonish now that this one's wrapped up. I hope everyone who voted for this enjoyed it, and I hope you'll show up in the patreon.com/loreboys, and maybe vote on a future episode. Pete, do you have anything you want to talk about?
At Loreboys Podcast on Instagram. Definitely join the Discord linked below. That is when you're going to find out. That's the first place you're going to find out, especially if you're active, when my comic is done. I remember I set like a deadline for myself. Not going to get into it. I'm just doing backgrounds now. Like I am at the tail end of it to the point where I hate everything I'm looking at. I've been looking at it for so long. I'm just like, I can't wait for this to be fucking done. But yeah, definitely join the Discord, chat with us. That's where you're going to get the updates first. It's broadly the only social media I use other than Instagram, so it's the best way to get updates on a lot of that stuff. But yeah, and then on Instagram, at Loreboys Podcast. Give us a follow, give us a like, send us some memes. Love it. And thank you for everybody who's been, supporting us this whole time as well.
Yeah. Jimbo, is there anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, come hang out Tuesdays and Thursdays at twitch.tv/loreboyjames. This week we did a cool gameplay of an indie game called The Gunk. It is like a really pretty action-adventure game. You don't see a lot of action-adventure like platformers anymore. It's kind of like olden days Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, but it's like a new one by an indie developer, and super cool game. We've been playing through that. It's only
on Game Pass as well. If you have Game Pass, I installed it while watching Jamie's stream. It looks. I haven't played it yet, but it looks fantastic.
Less than $10 on Steam. Super cool. We were playing some like Doom 3D, some Stumble guys with people in chat. Like Chaz beat me one, Ed Gein beat me another. But it was fun because we had 3 people, and all 3 of us would always get to the finals. So it was like 8 people in the finals, but 3 of them were from the Lore Boys server. So we like had a pretty heavy like.
You stacked it.
Yeah, we stacked it, and we were just stacking crowns back to back to back. So yeah, just come hang out. You can come play with me. Come hang out. It's twitch.tv/LoreBoyJames.
Warboys James
and
over
it's
at
in the
Twitch
Discord.
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, everybody. If you like the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star review and a comment, a rating, whatever you can do on your podcast app of choice. If you're listening to this on YouTube, leave us a billion comments. I promise I will go back and respond to them. Sure, might be in 2 months, but I will do it. I will respond to them. So go ahead. It really, really, really helps the show when you guys are able to share it in whatever way you choose to share it. If you share it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, Reddit. We have
share
Reddit.
and
Reddit.com.
interact.
Yeah.
And those godforsaken machines love interaction.
We need the robots. We need the Google robots to get on our side. They're working hard out there, but they need your help. And if you want to support the show financially, we've referenced it a few times on this episode, as we always do. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/theloreboys, full of all the coolest people in the world. And I mean that literally, who have chosen to support the show. You can check it out. We have a couple few fun things which we do on there, including loser titles. We do bonus content. I think we're releasing like 45 minutes tomorrow of just us chatting and goofing about Pete getting high on Novocaine, basically. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, if you like the way that we talk, you like the way that we use our voices, head on over and check it out. There's like hours and hours and hours and hours, dozens and dozens of hours of content over there. So
my face feels normal now. If you want to hear what it would sound like if it felt weird, and have $3, you could pop that in there.
Yeah, check it out. Patreon.com/LoreBoys. And of course, if you don't trust Patreon, we have always had Lore Boys Prime now,
which does not follow the Geneva Convention, for the record.
No, well, yeah, no, we kind of, my dog ate the Geneva Convention whenever I was creating Lore Boys Prime, so
he ate it upside down too, so he didn't even get it.
Yeah, no, he farted mustard gas. It was terrible. Of course, I mean, standard week this week. We are, as always, asking you guys to send some stuff in. We need to just wherever you are right now. If you're out on the bus, if you're sitting at home in your house or your apartment, if you're driving a forklift, I need you to look around and find the heaviest thing that you can see. We need you guys to ship those to us at your cost, of course, but no other cost to Lore Boys Prime, getting into the Lore Boys Prime Club this week, other than shipping us your heaviest items. We will be dropping them on Australia. That is our plan, is to drop the heaviest items that we can source onto Australia. I don't know how forklifts work. It seems like they should be heavy, but then also it seems like the heavy thing, like they have to be heavier than the thing that they lift, but maybe there's something that a forklift could lift that was heavier than a forklift. You know what I mean? I don't know how forklifts work or how heavy works, but if you're driving a forklift, give us the forklift if that's the heavy thing. But if there's like a block of heavy stuff, gold teeth, give us that, right?
Right.
Ethan wants a gold tooth. That's true.
That's also from the bonus content. You got to be a patron to know what the fuck I'm talking about. And
What
it'll
if
be revealed tomorrow?
What if two forklifts entangled their little forks, right?
And kiss.
And then lifted both each other at the same time? Would they just both lift?
That'd be super heavy, though.
Probably.
No matter what, that'd be heavy.
Yeah, it's true.
No, they would have to link at the top and lower both forks to raise up
so
the cab, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Send us your forklift docking. Okay, that's what we want. We want two forklifts docking with each other. We need a circumcised forklift and an uncircumcised
and
forklift.
a foreskin lift,
yeah,
obviously.
Don't worry. We know how it works. We read the M particle Wikipedia page, so you don't have to explain it to us.
I think that would constitute a Lore
Boys
out.